Stugotz, we got out of here yesterday a little bit before the news came down that the Dolphins season is over and that Tua Tagovailoa is not medically cleared to play in this game, which I guess stands to reason in retrospect, right? You can't just keep having concussions and not put yourself at further risk. In the reporting that's been around the doctors factor in what has happened recently to you with your brain before clearing you. So the decision has been made for Tua, for the Dolphins, for the organization of not having the terrible optics of, well, what happens in this playoff game if he gets hurt again? How much liability is there for the league? Because we're already at a place where we discuss this quarterback unlike any quarterback before him.
Yeah, been there for a while. It's interesting. I mean, he's not going to play, and I think that's, for Tua, that's a good thing for his long-term health. What I find interesting about all of this is what do the Dolphins do moving forward at the quarterback position, because he was playing so well, but you have a guy who seems to get concussed more than just about any quarterback in the NFL. And so what do you do moving forward? Because you have a big financial decision ahead of you, and maybe guys like Tom Brady want to come here for a year or two. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
It's fair, Stugotz. I wish we didn't get that fast conversationally to what is the next transaction. I get why. I understand, because it is a concern. Your organization, you want to know if you have a franchise quarterback, and this muddies things in a way that's super confusing because his passer rating is great, but there's brain stuff here that is dangerous and feels fragile and is hard to build around. I simply don't want to get there yet on the transaction, on what Tom Brady, on what's next, without stopping for a moment before replacing him. This was, by the standards of an all-in football season with pressures all around it, this was an enormous season for the Miami Dolphins, and progress, when it comes to health in that sport, which is super flimsy, is not linear. This was progress, not just with the Dolphins.
I agree.
With the league.
Yes.
This represents whatever small amount of progress you get from, hey, the brain injuries are really rampant in the sport and dangerous, and this guy needs to not play, when at any time in human history before now, he would have just kept playing. There were no concussion tests. The ramifications were what they were for a bunch of old quarterbacks who were being tackled on AstroTurf 40 years ago.
And it's a great thing. I'm totally with you because, and that's why they say don't leave it up to the players. And this is now up to the doctors, and the doctors are telling you, hey, he's been concussed 3 or 4 times this season that we know of, and we're not going to allow that guy, even in a playoff game, to play again. I'm guessing there are some fans who are upset by it.
I think very few, Stugotz. I think once the doctors take it out...
You think the fans like the progress?
I think, no, I don't think they like or need the progress, and I'm sure there are many fans who simply want to have a chance in Sunday's game.
Right.
But I do believe that the stopping point on even Tuanon is, well, if the doctors say he can't play, I can only be so upset about that if I'm not just an asshole.
Wouldn't real progress be if they cleared him from concussion protocol, but the team was like, no, we're not playing? No, I'm serious. That's what the people have been kind of wanting the Dolphins to do, regardless of whether he clears.
So you're cleared, but the team's like, no, we care about Tua.
Like, the doctors honestly saved the Dolphins from that, honestly. Like,
from having to make that decision.
So, like, that, I think, would be even more progress if he cleared protocol and the Dolphins were just like, no.
Do you think we'll see that? Like, do you think if he was cleared that Mike McDaniel would say, hey, you know what? Not this weekend. I don't know. I'm not certain a coach would do that.
It is not, I don't believe, the moral responsibility of the team to keep a player healthy. In that sport, like, you cannot promise or guarantee that to any player. I understand what you're saying there, but the idea that Mike McDaniel would step in with ultimate humanity and be like, I understand he's been cleared. This affects our playoff chances. I'm going to decide to side with the human being. I would love for Mike McDaniel to be the one who chooses that morally, because human decency, but that we're not there yet. Like, the progress isn't there yet.
This is actually one of the areas I was disappointed in Mike McDaniel earlier this season in that first Buffalo game in week 3 when we all saw him stumble, which, kind of grossed out all of us. And with the information that McDaniel would have had, yes, he passed a concussion test, but I was hoping that Mike McDaniel would sort of think differently like this too. And he sort of, in that moment to me, proved that he's sort of any other football coach. And I think that if he got a clean bill of health from Tua, that he would be playing on Saturday, or Sunday. I think he is. I think he's just a football coach that wants to throw his best quarterback out there.
You guys, I think, and look, man, I was loud about saying Tua shouldn't play. But you guys are wanting a coach to work against his own best interests and against the advice of doctors to make the correct moral choice about human care for a human being. And he presides over throwing a bunch of people out there who are going to be turned to shred by the meat grinder.
But Chris Cody is right. I doubt we're going to see it. And I, too, thought Mike McDaniel, and I don't know what I'm doing there with McDaniel, where he would be the one coach.
He seems smarter, more...
Right.
He's not a caveman.
That might do it, but this is progress. What's happening right now is progress. But what Chris is laying out for you, as unlikely as it is, would be more progress.
Well, that's
where
all...
he's cleared to play and the coach says, "No, I care about you. You're not playing."
That's what everyone was saying to me on Monday when I came in here, and I was like, if he's cleared to play, I'm cool with him playing. I feel like that's almost what Dan's saying right now. And I just think that's...
see, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's a tough ask of McDaniel. I'm not saying, I would love for these guys to behave as Saint McDaniel, who runs on behalf of, human decency. He is here always, not for the scoreboard, but for the heart of his players. That would be grand. It's also not professional football in any way. It's not.
It's not to say that it can't happen one day, Dan, that maybe there is a coach out there. It's not Mike McDaniel, though.
Doctors have cleared you. You're the number one passer rating in the sport at this young an age since Marino. Yeah. No. I don't want to win at Buffalo. I care about you so much that I will punch myself in the face again and again. Like that, you're asking for him to be Brother Teresa.
We're not asking for him to do anything. It's unlikely. We're saying that would be more progress than what we have today. Because today we have progress. We agree.
Stugotz, yes, I understand.
We're doing levels of progress.
I understand that the moment that I, on this microphone, say this is progress, that your immediate reaction is going to be, but there should be more progress. Yes, that would be great, too.
It's sports radio.
That would be wonderful if there were more progress and everybody wouldn't, bite my face off when I said, hey, Tua needs to not play again this season. That would be great. If everybody was humanly decent and sports customer base was like, I don't care that my entire season has gone to total shit because I'm going to lose to Buffalo.
Dan, you're playing both sides.
Chris Cody feels like the world wanted to bite his face off.
On Monday, you guys all looked at me like I was like, how could you say that right now? That if he's cleared by doctors, I'm okay with him playing because I assume that they, who are much smarter than me, then we get into the discussion if the team has his best interest. I hope that they do, and I want to trust them. I understand that there's a lot of money in here, so I don't know if it's nefarious, but I like to think that these doctors are decent humans, and they're going to, protect Tua from himself.
You love the Dolphins. You want them to win. You're going to Buffalo. What if the doctors did clear Tua for this week's game?
Dude, I've been in a group chat with people.
And Mike McDaniel refused to start him because he cares about him. What would your reaction be?
That's such a good question.
I don't know what my reaction would be. I can be honest with you and tell you that there's been a group chat.
I can't answer it.
There's been a group chat. I'm in all hardcore Dolphin fans spending a lot of money to go to Buffalo, and we were there was nobody complaining when he was ruled out yesterday. We're all just in Skylar we trust. We'll run through a wall for him, and that's it. Let's get drunk.
My answer though would be really easy. I would be stunned and obviously applaud Mike McDaniel for caring about the human being there over his own team's chances. I just think it's an unbelievable thing for you guys to expect a football coach to do. I felt like the organization should protect him and itself by making a total organization decision from owner on down. Nah, he don't play again.
We're debating back here whether that would be "Look at Me, Louie" from Mike McDaniel. He's cleared to play, but I will not allow him to play.
We're really overdoing it with technically, this whole show is "Look at Me, Louie." Look at us.
Yeah.
Talking on microphones.
Mm-hmm.
Look at us, Louie.
Front of cameras.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, we have to draw the line with what we're calling "Look at Me, Louie."
This Tua instance has really shown me the value in not saying a goddamn thing.
And the narrative around the two.
I stand by what I said Monday, Chris.
I
I don't
I
remember
stand
what
by
it
what
was,
I
but I
haven't.
stand
The
by it.
narrative, I think the narrative behind this Tua thing is all because of these damn fingers. The damn fingers thing
Dude,
that he
we
did
saw
in
him
Cincinnati.
stumble.
Because Kyle Pickett has had 2 concussions this year.
Cut his fingers off.
Nobody's-
It's
Cody's-
Kenny.
Kenny.
Whatever.
$2.
Nobody's
say Kyle
talking.
Pickett?
I combined Kyle Pitts, I think. Kyle Pitts and
Oh.
Kenny
Yeah, what
Pickett.
happened there too?
But
He was so bad.
Yep. Sophomore slump.
So he was
Terrible
so good in
quarterbacking
college.
situation.
But
that's not his fault.
Kenny Pickett had 2 concussions this year. And nobody's like talking about how the Steelers organization. I can't believe they're putting him back out there. He didn't have the finger thing. I just think there's a narrative
yes,
around this.
Finger thing helps.
But I'm
Like
just saying,
the stories surrounding them matter. The first one, which wasn't even diagnosed as a concussion, we see him try to get up and then fall because he can't stand up straight. The second one, we see his fingers splayed, and the third one, he says, "I can't even remember the interceptions I threw." Like those
there's been
stories
a lot of
surrounding.
Concussions. There's been a lot of concussions
Yes.
this year, and the
But we
narrative.
should take all of them seriously. I agree.
But narrative matters. Of course, it matters.
Well, you guys didn't let me talk about the Steelers all season. How about that? Because we're on a stupid Miami radio show. Oh, Jess is so mad that they're talking about the Dolphins on their Miami show.
one team is in
Why
the
did you
playoffs
move
and the
to
other isn't.
Miami? Guess what, Chris Whittingham? You're going to lose the first playoff game to the Buffalo Bills just like the Steelers would have.
This is a football issue more than a Dolphins issue. Is really what
Here,
my
here.
point is.
Here.
Here. I'm kind of with
It's not
Whittingham
on
though.
us.
Concussions count the same on the Dolphins as on every other team, Chris. I don't disagree with you.
I'm but a red-blooded
look at the
American
news
man.
stream. The
I
news
want
stream-
Tua to play.
The news stream values like.
Are you blaming the mainstream media for Tua's concussion?
I am.
Mainstream.
What are you doing?
I'm saying that the narrative around this Tua concussion is way stronger than when there's
He
teams.
looked paralyzed on television.
Come on, you're doing well. Keep it going.
I mean, you guys are like saying things loud right now. My point is still stands. The narrative around the
So
Dolphins
unfair.
is way more extreme than every team has had concussions.
You should be grateful for that, by the way. It sucks when the mainstream media doesn't talk about your team. And that's when Mike Tomlin comes out and wins 9 games out of nowhere, and everyone's like, how the hell did that happen? Guess what? I watched all those shitty games. We didn't talk about a single one. You're
But-
lucky your team gets coverage.
I'm kind of with Whittingham, though, from this standpoint. I could see Mike McDaniel. It's not Dan Campbell. It's not a caveman. Like, this guy, he went to Yale. He seems different, seems to operate differently.
He's not bald.
Yale
I
Schmale.
could see him being one of the guys that says,
Catching-
my quarterback's healthy.
Bald's
Yeah, but
catching
not today.
strays today.
Yeah.
It's just.
What am I doing there?
What was Dan doing with the Dana White is bald thing? It was just,
That's why I brought it back.
look, RNC, fine. White, okay. Bald? Come on.
Chris Cody, one of the things that I'm enjoying about you heading into the fray with the controversial take of if the doctors clear him, he should be allowed to play, and then being shouted down is you thought it was safe to hide behind the doctors. You're an idiot. You thought it was safe back there. You thought if the
He still hasn't answered my question.
Yes.
The only place where it's safe, Chris, is not saying anything.
Answer his question.
Learn from me.
No one's asked me where my DeMar Hamlin tweet was. Just stay quiet.
Answer Stugotz's question, Chris Cody, of if the doctors had cleared Tua and McDaniel raised his arms up and like, not on my watch, I care about human beings, human decency will reign, would you have criticized him as a look at me Louie and blamed him for ruining the Dolphins season?
And don't leave out that Chris is traveling to the game to see it. I mean,
Not publicly.
My man.